Hi everyone, Diane here, welcome to my studio. Today we're going to paint some pansies in a vintage style. And first of all, what I'm going to be doing is drawing them in an arrangement of loose, sort of botanical style arrangement where they're just sitting on a piece of paper. And I'm using a piece of Arches here. This is 300-pound Arches watercolor paper, which is quite heavy, and that's why you can see it's got a decal edge all the way around, which is indicative of it having been mold made rather than on a roller. Anyway, it's very good paper, so it's pretty heavy. And I'm drawing my pansies in my traditional way, where I do a sort of upside down heart and then the other three petals behind. And now I'm just popping in the stems and putting in a bud or two here and there, just very loosely. And although I say this is a vintage look, it's not an accurate botanical impression, just kind of loose, sort of thing that a Victorian lady might have produced sitting in front of her easel on a cold and rainy autumn evening. Now, first of all, I'm using a size 7 round watercolor brush here, and I'm just wetting the petals on this, the first one that I'm going to paint. And I just picking up now some cobalt blue, and I'm going to drop the cobalt blue into the damp paint, petals, and then just let that spread a little. And now I've got a little bit of dioxazine violet, and I'm putting that on the back petals there like that. And then I'm going to go away and paint another one and let that one just spread. It's interesting to see how quickly the cobalt blue moves compared to the violet, which is obviously a heavier pigment particle and takes longer to move than the blue does. Now this one I'm doing wet on dry. You probably noticed the one on the far right there. I've already wetted that and I'm letting that soak in. And this one I'm just coming in with some, I think that's cadmium yellow, and I'm just dropping that in to wet the petals all over. Then I'll let that sink in. Now going to the number 3, which I'd already pre-wet, coming in there with some violet. I'm not quite sure what colour that is actually. I think it's cadmium, alizarin crimson, that's what it is, alizarin crimson. And then strengthening the violet on these ones over here, just by dropping in, I call that pumping the colour in when I just pick it up and just drop it, dot, 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 like that, into the wet, and allowing it to touch the dry paper. And at that point, you get a nice, sharp painted edge, which is gives contrast. And you really need contrast in your watercolour paintings if they're going to capture the eye, which is what you really want to have happen. Now, the centres are going to be yellow, and I'm just dropping in some cadmium yellow there, and a little bit of quinacridone gold as well, just to darken that down a little bit. That's quin gold there going into the yellow one. And it's having patience is the thing, really, with painting pansies like this. You have to drop the paint in and then just let it run. And that's burnt umber, which I've put onto the yellow. I think I had chosen pansies with colours from the garden. And we had these yellow ones with brown. So just pumping in a bit more, pumping in a bit of black there to give some really dark shadows. And also into the red one here, we're going to give it a really nice, it looks much darker than it will by the time it's dried, by the way. But if we feel we've made a mistake, we just blot it out and come back in with something completely different. And probably I'm going to stick with the dark colour in the centre there and then just drag it out a little bit using more water than I did the first time. And you can always soak up some of that water using your brush if you dry your brush off as well. You can just lift it out with a thirsty brush. And I'm softening this up here a bit more. Just thinking I quite like the what would you call that? The sort of the dabbed out look, where you give it texture by imprinting the texture of a tissue or a piece of kitchen towel into the paint. And that makes it look even more vintage, really. Now I'm wetting this one over here. Doesn't matter if your water is a little bit dirty by now. It doesn't really matter because you're going to drop colour in and you want that vintage look. So if the water isn't absolutely pristine, clean, it really doesn't make a lot of difference. So we've got quinacridone gold and burnt sienna on this one. And just very lightly dabbing it in around the outside edges. And then encouraging it to spread so that we can come in with a darker colour for the centre and let that bleed into the under layer. The wet in wet is something which is always interesting to see how it develops as it's sitting there on the paper and you're just watching it do its own thing, really. And when you're doing wet in wet, you don't have to start with completely clean water when you wet your petals. You can do what I'm doing here, which is to wet all 5 of them, wet them loosely with a very light wash of dioxazine violet there, or Windsor violet, and then dropping in the same colour but much more intense in the middle and letting that bleed out into the petals gradually, just like in nature, really. All these colours that move around in nature give you a good effect. And as I said, it's interesting to watch and see how some colours move much more fast, much more quickly than others. And I think the next thing probably is to go on to doing some leaves and stems. So we'll pick up some olive green, and I'm using here a quill brush, which is a squirrel brush, and it's a brush that's an old-fashioned kind of brush that used to be very much more common in the days before our modern technology. And the squirrel hairs are bound into the shaft of the brush using some, I think it's copper wire, which is quite a sort of, I don't know, rustic way of making a brush. You can make them yourself, actually, if you're clever. I've never tried, but you could. But anyway, that's the brush that gives a nice leaf shape, as you can see. Sort of press down and lift up, and you get irregular, patchy, interpretative marks for your leaves, which is, well, I like that look myself. And then just dropping the colour of the pansy bud into the end of these pansies here, and coming back with the green to give the, are they called the sepals, the bits that go on the outside of the flower, and then the stems, and so on and so forth. Sorry about my hand. And you can get quite a nice, a fine line with the tip of this quill brush. You can actually get quite a fine line, because especially when they're quite new. This one I don't think is all that new. I think I've had this one about 20 years and it's still going strong. I don't know whether any of you have ever tried to buy vintage painting equipment or anything like that, from somebody who sadly has died or is giving up because of health reasons or lack of interest, or maybe they've been given things that they don't want to use or don't find useful. You can find these things on eBay and so on. Vintage equipment, because I was just thinking, I have a funny feeling that the brushes that they make now, like, these quill brushes, I'm not sure that they're the same quality that they were when I was given mine. I think Tamsin gave me these ones. And they're Isabey brushes, which are made actually just down the road from here. Their factory is not very far away. I don't know if they still make them there or whether they get them from China now. I don't know. But they used to be made there. The factory is still there. So I suspect that they probably are still made there. I should find out, shouldn't I? Literally, they are probably only 50 miles from here. But anyway, yeah, so that's something to think about, I think, rather than buying new all the time. To think about buying vintage equipment. I've got quite a lot of vintage equipment because I was given a whole bunch of things from somebody who passed away, and it comes in handy. It does really. Some of it is very, very good things. Anyway, that blue one, that blue and white one up there has come out really well, dropping the cobalt blue into just basically dirty water. And now I'm coming back and adding more stems to some of these ones down here and letting the leaves be really loose and really irregular in their shape, irregular in their color. It's like the opposite to accurate botanical painting, which is not my style. I know it's very clever and I like to look at it, but that's not my style. There are people out there who do that, and they can't paint like this, and I can't paint like. You can only do what you can do, can't you? And this is my style. And I think the vintage look is really coming through quite well here. It has that, to me anyway, it has that irregularity, as if maybe it's even been caught in a rainstorm or something and had some water damage to it, or or it's been hanging on the wall for a long time and has faded a little bit. That's the look we're going for really here. And this is one I've just added that one in there sort of loosely and without any pre-drawing. You don't really need to draw them, and once you've done a few, you'll find that you don't need to draw them. You can just paint them in. But it does sometimes help, because sometimes that line of pencil, that just gives you an indication of how far to go and a bit more confidence in what you're doing. And then as we go further into the painting, you sort of think, oh, yes, I should have, I need to add one here, or I'll put a few more leaves over here. And some of my leaves are on the brown side. I know that pansy leaves are actually kind of scalloped on the outside edge a bit, but I decided not to bother with that. Although I put it in the drawing, I decided to leave it out when it came to doing the painting, and just kind of really roughly indicate the round edges, but really roughly. So it's just, it's fiddly trying to do all those kind of little scallopy things, and I decided I didn't want to do that. Just focusing really on the flowers and the importance of the flowers, and just being supported by the leaves around the outside. It's just to fill the gaps, actually, more than anything else. And now I'm going to take a Chinese or Japanese, it's a pen or a scraping implement for pottery, either way. And I'm going to put in some of the veins on some of the leaves by scraping into the wet paint. And you'll notice that in some places where I scrape, it goes light, and some places it goes dark. If it's still very wet, it'll go dark, and where it's light, where it's drier, you'll get a lighter line. So I've timed this just right, because most of these are wet enough that the veins are actually going to show up. And we can put in the veins in the flowers as well to give a little bit more structure to those petals. And drag the paint out a little bit. This is kind of an optional extra. You don't have to do this. And where it's dry, these were the first ones I did. It's not working anyway, so I'm not bothering with that. We just have to take it as we find it and go with the flow, so to speak. And when it's dry, those veins will fade back quite a bit, and they won't be as obvious as they are. So we don't mind if they look a little bit too strong at the moment, because they will fade back, obviously, once the paint dries. That's the thing with watercolor. You have to take that into consideration, which is why at this point I'm just adding a little bit more shadowy color, depth of color to the centers, so that as it dries, those areas will remain contrasting enough with the outside edges of the flowers. You have to be careful not to make to go too far. Don't want to go too far and spoil it. Sometimes you don't see until later that you should have stopped. But that's the problem there. If there is a problem with watercolor, it's knowing when to stop. And that's something that is very much in everyone's mind. And here's an option. I decided I would do some spattering because often that adds to the vintage effect. And my spattering here, I decided to do what I call breaking it, break the spatters. So I just came back in with a clean quill brush and I just flicked those spots to break them up to make it look like there was some wear and tear on the paper. And there we are. So that's the end of that one for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Give us a like and subscribe and turn on notifications, and I'll see you again soon, everyone, for the next video. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.